All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Chad Townsend Show. Look, today we're very excited. We've got 256 NRL game veteran Martin Taupau on the show. Thanks for having us, Marty.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Mate, we're so stoked to have you on here today, and we're going to go through your career. Obviously, we've both made the decision to retire from the NRL this year, and mate, I'm excited to sort of get in the nuts and bolts of your career and have a look at a holistic approach. But I want to take it right back to the start, to when you were a kid. In the early days, what age did you start playing footy, and what age did you kind of fall in love with the game?
Well, I was born in New Zealand, so I'm a New Zealand-born Samoan. Migrated here in Australia, but in New Zealand, I picked up the rugby union ball. So I played rugby union it was only a couple of years. I think it was for 4 years, till the age of 10, where we migrated here in Australia. I didn't know what rugby league was until I got just put into a rugby league team, and the rest was history. So it was just go and play footy, spend some time with mates, and that was it. And I guess it was for my parents just to give me something to do other than go to school, and so it was pretty cool, but really daunting at the same time, given the fact that we had to leave family and friends back in New Zealand and start a new chapter here in Australia.
And where was home for you in New Zealand? And how was that as childhood up until you moved?
Well, my childhood, I was really fortunate. I was surrounded by, so back then there was a lot of migration from Samoa to New Zealand, and I was surrounded by friends and family, lots of cousins and stuff. So I grew up in South Auckland, in Otara, or Otara.
Yeah.
So they say it's rough, but back then it didn't seem like it. There was a lot of kids. It was a lot of fun. I was really fortunate to have a really loving, supporting family, and having made that decision. Well, my father making that decision that it was best for our family to migrate to Australia. I was saddened by it, but looking back now, I'm really grateful for him making that decision.
So you moved to Australia, 10 years old. Whereabouts did you guys kind of settle as a family once you guys moved to Sydney?
So we settled in the good old punch bowl. So punch bowl bread. I loved it. It was funny, when I came to Australia, I didn't know what Lebanese background was. I didn't know what pizza. I didn't know what a kebab was. It was freaking amazing when, I think it was fast forward 2 years when we landed in Australia. I just got working with my uncle, and obviously just jumped in this truck. We worked for Coca-Cola at the time, and we were doing our rounds, and he goes, we'll just stop by and grab kebab. A 12-year-old, I didn't know what a kebab was. But the first bite, hooked.
Yeah,
I was hooked. And then a couple of other trips later, it was pizza. So I didn't know what Pizza Hut was. I didn't know what Domino's was. It was like, oh my gosh, stop it. It was amazing. It was the best experience when I first came and experienced what real food was. Given that growing up in Samoan community, our staple was taro, which is a starch. It's like potato based. Yep. That chop suey, or that innards, pig's head, all that sort of stuff. But when I got a hold of the kebab and pizza, oh jeez.
So many options. I love that. Mate, so you move over to Australia, obviously continue on with your rugby league journey here in Australia. And for people who may not know, Marty and I are a very similar age. We played against each other in all sorts of age groups in the juniors, and obviously in our NRL careers. But I just remember your name as a youngster in the junior rep scene at the Dogs. You obviously start making Harold Matthews Cup and SG Ball and that. And how was that for you, I guess, going through the kind of junior rep system, progressing? And was it when you sort of started making these teams that you were like, hey, I actually want to play NRL?
Yeah, well, coming through the Canterbury Bulldogs junior ranks, I would say I'm pretty blessed that I did come through the time that I did. With all the, your Hazem El Masris, your Sonny Bills, he was still young at the time. Yep. They were the cult figures. Steve Price was one that I really admired. And then was also Ruben Wiki when he played for Canberra back in the days and over at the Warriors. They were the players that really stood out as a rookie coming through. For me, it wasn't really something that I aspired to. First grade was I thought it was light years away in becoming a reality. But as time went on, it was your Harold, back then it was Harold Matthews, your 15s, your SG Ball. I was like, okay, this could be a thing, but still it was going in, have a yarn with your boys, play some footy, have a meat pie after the game, and that's it, and we'll go back home. It became evident, I would say, around the age of 17, 18. So I went to a school called Endeavour Sports High School in Caringbah, Cronulla, and it was obviously a sporting school, but I was surrounded by these aspiring young athletes. So they were a different breed. The Stanley brothers, Dean Fade, like these guys, they were built different. And
Joey Leilua as well. Joey Leilua go to Endeavour?
Joey Leilua. Like this players just lined up, and they all play first grade. Like Chase Stanley, he was in year 12, and he made his debut, and I was like, holy dooly, he's playing first grade, and we jump in the car, we'll go down for lunch, and that was pretty cool. But that was the moment where I was like, okay, we can make something real here. But it was a really tough journey to endure, but I think it's made it. Yeah, it was really helpful throughout my career. Right up to,
That was actually going to be my next question, because I know you went to Endeavour, and obviously Endeavour has a great reputation at or a great breeding ground for giving young guys and now girls an opportunity to play sport at school. And obviously, I think it was the Rival Life Cup back then, was it?
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
Back in the day, where I'm not sure what the Opens, how it all the school footy works now, but those Arrival Live Cup days, I mean, if you know what I'm talking about, how big it was back in the day. Tell me a bit more about like those experiences in school footy. Like you just mentioned some of those household names who went on to forge their own careers. Like, how was that for you guys as like a stepping stone into sort of your next level?
It was huge because we saw there was massive opportunities. Obviously, the goal was to make first grade, but there were so many opportunities of the people that you get to meet, the players that you get to play with, and you get to travel. So for me, I got to travel interstate, which I found it pretty cool. I started traveling at the age of 15, so I was making a lot of teams, not so much rep teams, but just teams that were able to travel. But in and around that Arrival Live Cup era, I wasn't fortunate enough to play in those teams. I would say it was because of I didn't do my homework, so it's no work, no play. So okay, yeah. So it was really good back then. So if you don't do your homework, if you don't do the schoolwork, well, you don't get to play. Yes, I copped that. And then I copped another double backhand because I thought I was this cool kid, and they go, no, sorry, Marty, discipline. You just stay here. You just keep working in the background. It was hard, but and seeing the boys play, every week at the time, and then it was broadcasted. It's like, I want to be on TV.
Yeah,
I want to be. I want my name mentioned, and also do proud for your family.
Yep.
And I believe it was Vossi was he was commentating at the time, and I think it might have been Gus Gould back. He would do a few games, and it was like, oh geez, I want to play a Rival Live Cup. So I thought, I'll play both. So I played both sports in high school, rugby league and rugby union. And funny enough, I was a winger / fullback.
Oh no way!
So this is before I discovered weights. And it was, I thought, look, I'll just put all my effort into both of these and see which one sticks. And with rugby union, it was, I believed I was a real good talent. I was fast, I wasn't fit, but I could bleep. And I got approached by a team if I wanted to. But at the time, I was already contracted to the Bulldogs.
Yep. So
it was rugby league.
Yeah, rugby league it was. I mean, obviously, like I said, play through the junior rep level at the Dogs, and then obviously, I think it was back then it would have been Toyota Cup for us, under 20s at the Bulldogs. And then when you finished school, what did you do between time, before you made your debut and when you finished school? How was that period of your life?
So between those couple of years, so it was the age of 17, 18, up until, so 3 years, I was working. So even during school, I was working. I was a kitchen hand at Miranda RSL. I loved my food. So my subjects in school was food tech and hospitality.
Yeah.
Look, Samoans, Pacific Islanders, our love language is food, so we loved it. But yeah, I was working throughout high school, and then when I finished high school, I was contracted to the Bulldogs. I didn't make a lot of money, but so I was filling in the gaps of I was working. I was a kitchen hand. I was a removalist. I worked in the construction business, and then my big break came through.
You know, like, because obviously food is a massive thing for Islanders. I don't know how much. Like, I've got some family who are into that sort of stuff too. So that's really cool. But talk me through about your, when you made your NRL debut. So you obviously, played your time at the Dogs, played all the stuff at school. You've done every step along the way, and then it gets to a point where now you're in the frame to make your NRL debut. Tell me how you found out and how that felt for you.
Geez, my NRL debut, I'm not really fond of talking about it nor thinking about it or anything to do with my NRL debut. To be honest, I don't really remember being told what had happened or throughout that week. What I do remember is that I was playing against the Warriors, and I was in a team full of, for me, they were superstars, and they were the pioneers. They were the ones I looked up to. So you probably remember this: Andrew Ryan, Luke Patton, Brett Comorley, Michael Ennis.
Some OGs there.
Yeah. They were
dogs.
They're big dogs.
Yeah.
Old school dogs. And they're the ones that I really looked up to because they're family. They were family orientated. And at the time it was a family orientated club, and still is. But leading up to that, I was playing, so it was round 3 against the Warriors, and the Warriors had some scary players. Sam Rapira, Simon Mannering, Manu Votove. Like, please stop. Like, I didn't know who to run it, and I thought I was a good player. I was 20. I was captain of the under 20s, and I thought I was invincible, as every other 20-year-old would think. I was like, okay, so I come on, and the Warriors had kicked the ball, and I believe Andrew Ryan looked at me and goes, "Marty, get the fucking ball." So, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yep. I was like, yep. I've just made 3 tackles in a row. I didn't know what the speed was like, but it was super fast at the time. So I went back. Luke Patton caught the ball. He ran the ball, and then play 2, I caught it, got the ball, and I just ran straight. And I believe it was Sam Rapira and Luke Mannering. They just picked me up and drove me into the ground, and then I stayed down for a bit. They looked at me and they go, "Welcome to first grade."
Yeah, I love that. Welcome to first grade moment.
Yep. And that was reality.
I love that. And tell me a bit more about some of those OGs. Some of those OG names were household, enormous names in the scope of the game. What did you kind of learn off those type of guys when you first came into the game? Like, did you see how they would operate? Their professionalism, some of their habits. Like, was there things that you kind of took off someone in particular?
Well, the first thing I saw, what we've all experienced in teams, is the camaraderie. I love the positive energy that they all had, and it wasn't segregated or anything. It's like all the boys all mixed. Like Benny Roberts. Benny Roberts,
yep.
And all these other players that were coming through the ranks, like your Masons and all that. They were like, they inspired me to be someone bigger. And I guess at the time, as a captain of the under 20s, the Toyota Cup, I tried to be bigger than who I was. So, bro, so then I had the conversations with those old boys, and they go, "Marty, you just got to find who you are. Like, define who you are as a person, and things will just grow from there." So, some really great advice, and I really love and appreciate my time there. Like, Dean Halliter is probably one of them. Dean Halliter and Corey Payne was probably the 2 that I really admired. Just the way that they turn up. So they're there as athletes, professional athletes, and they work hard. But then when they switch off, they're just normal people. They're family men, just boys, And they talk about everything else under the sun other than just rugby league. And that's the thing that I really appreciated. And that's what I've taken into my whole career is that when you go to work, it's work, you turn on. But when you step outside of the pitch, it's like, okay, let's find something that will help, whatever works for you and your family and your circles.
I love that. And I think that's what a lot of people do forget. They tend to put, players on a pedestal, but it's like, we are just normal people. We go through the same things that everyone else does, but we just play footy on the weekend. So I think it's a great bit of advice. Obviously, you played a couple of years at the Dogs and obviously made your NRL debut there, like I said. Then you made the decision to move on from the Dogs and sign to the Tigers. How did that come about? And tell me a bit more about that.
Well, given I am a really loyal person, and growing up in the neighbourhood, being at the Bulldogs, I was dying to stay at the Bulldogs and sign a couple of years, but it was unfortunate because we had a stacked team. We had Sam Cassiano, Greg Eastwood, Pritchard. It's like, where do I see it? James Graham.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't run at Booper.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
Booper will eat you alive, both on the field and in the conversation, in the debate. But yeah, I was told, look, it's unfortunate that we don't have space for you. And it's like, okay, so when we put our feelers out, and the Tigers came to the table, and that was, even that still was a great experience given what had happened in those 2 years that I was there. There was a lot of turmoil off the field, which obviously it affected the playing group, but the group of players that we had, you look at them now, they're superstars.
Yeah. Crazy. I know there's been a lot of players that have played for the Tigers and left and gone on and done great things, as you mentioned. The Tigers, for me, I think there's so much potential there, and I really enjoy watching the Tigers these days. With obviously their recruits and Benji as coach, I think is doing a great job at sort of trying to change that dynamic of the club. They haven't played finals since 2011 for a long time, and you obviously spent a couple of seasons there. Like, what do you think that club essentially needs to do to kind of, break out and get back into the final series?
That's a tough one. Like being at the club and understanding what they are, because not for many people that don't know, the Tigers they're two groups formed into one. And it's, I guess that there's a lot of fans back in the days that say one's better than the other and vice versa. But to be honest, it's really hard to say exactly what it is. There are a lot of moving parts in clubland, the board level, and the football side of things. I think it all comes down to the best way to get out of, or to be successful, is to continue to nurture the people that look after the players.
Yep.
And that all comes down to culture.
Yep.
When people talk about culture, culture backgrounds and all that sort of stuff, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it, and doing that consistently. And I think if teams that want to be successful do those sort of things, they'll start to see small wins, and those small wins, when it's compounded over time, you'll get massive wins. And I think that's what's happening, what will start to happen with the Tigers now, with a great recruit, Jerome Luai, Api Coruscant as their captain, and then they've got Benji Marshall, who's a modern day coach, and he's hands-on as well with his athletes. So I think it'll be an amazing time for the West Tigers to progress, and they will. Look, things may stagnate for every club, for anyone, but there's always going to be small wins, and just appreciate those.
Yeah, I love that. And I played for 4 clubs as well, so I know what it's like to change clubs. And your next move, you went over to Manly and probably had your longest tenure. Probably found a nice home at Manly and had some good success. Just quickly before we get into Manly, like, how did you find your sort of change? When you're off contract and you got decisions to make and you're having conversations with your manager, and it's like there's your current club may or may not want you, or there's an offer from here, or there's an offer there. You like this offer but don't necessarily like this club. Don't like this offer but like this club. Tell me a bit about the sort of process you would kind of go through, and how you sort of would come to a decision to pick the right fit for you and a family when you're off contract.
I guess for every athlete, the contract process is really different. For me, I was really fortunate. I was supported. My agent at the time was Darryl Mathers, and I would say he was one of the pioneers in the game, where he knew everything from coming through the Super League era and now into the NRL. I was supported and guided by him, and how it went was with the Tigers. They had come back with a deal in which we conversated and talked about it, and we thought let's test the market as any other player would at the time. And Manly came to the table, and I wasn't aware at the time, but there was a person called Bob Fulton, and I would call him Sir Bob Fulton. For me, he is the godfather of rugby league, and I didn't know who this old gentleman was. And so we had this conversation. We went and had this conversation with Bob and Anne at their place, and just talking about what it could look like. And so we did that and say, okay, we'll just come back and we'll sit on it for 24, 48 hours. I didn't know who Bob Fulton was until I Googled him. It's like, shit, he's a great.
That resume.
He's a mortal.
Yeah.
And for that, I was sold. I was sold purely because of the influence that he has, his stature. It was because I didn't know who he was. He showed love. He showed respect. Showed love, and he opened his arms, opened his front doors, his big front doors, over at the Northern Beaches, and said, "Come down. We'll just have a cup of tea and just have a chat." And the conversation started with family. It also was family, and then we just went into football. It just naturally went into rugby league. Yep, I was sold.
I love that. Because Bob Fulton, one of the absolute goats of the game, immortal as you mentioned, and a great of Manly. Tell me a bit about the time you had at Manly. Like I said, you found a home at Manly. It was where you had your longest tenure. I think it was 156 games. I think it was that you played for Manly. Tell me about what you loved about Manly and your time there, and some of the players that you played with, and the success you guys had on the field.
Oh, geez, I could write a long list of the players I've played with. Look, the first two that come to mind are two hitmen. So George Taupau and Steve Maddai.
Yeah.
So it's funny, when I first got there, everyone said, "Oh, Steve Maddai, how are you?" I just went along and said, "Yeah, I'm good. It went on for years. And at one signing session, I wrote on a piece of paper, "I am not Steve Maddai," and with an arrow pointing to him on that side. So they all laughed and giggled about it. And I love it. Like, if you say I'm Steve Maddai, I'm Steve Maddai, sure.
Yeah.
But I played the likes of Steve Maddai, Jamie Lyon, like the Trbojevic brothers, honestly. And you can't miss Manly's greatest player after Bozo is Ches.
Yeah.
It was like we had some great moments. We endured some tough games, tough losses, but as a playing group, we had a good time. Freaking hell, we had a good time.
The thing I loved about Manly, I've played for Cronulla. You guys were one of our biggest rivals. Obviously, Manly and Cronulla had a long history, but always very, very tough to beat, and never really sort of beat themselves. But a game at Brookvale Oval, or 4 Points Park, what it is today, if you were going there, like, it was going to be a tough game. That place to play at, I don't think I had a very good record win rate there. Tell me about what it was like when you were playing at Brookvale in front of a home crowd on a Sunday afternoon or whatever it was, and the hills just rocking, and you're hearing Eagle Rock, because it pumps, doesn't it?
I love Eagle Rock. Even on the warm up, it pumps, it goes, and playing there, it's like the best fortress. As for any opposition. Like, I've been in opposition against Manly, and it's freaking terrifying. But when you're on the other end and you've got the crowd behind you, oh shit, you want to take your jersey off and you want to be in with them. Like, they just are brutal. And there are so many moments I remember I've just been fatigued and tired. And because the crowd is so close to you, all you hear is like F-bombs, C-bombs, come on. But this is, to me, get your fucking ass into shape. It's like, oh, yep, shoot, okay, it's my head up now.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
it helps. It helps. And that's the one thing I love is the crowd just absolutely, it's like they are on your back with a whip and they're just getting you through. And it's, we've had some really, really great wins down at, I'll call it Brookie.
Yeah, Brookie, I love that. You definitely have. You mentioned the Trbojevic brothers, the two champions. To me, they're just the heart and soul of the club. I mean, looking from the outside in. Tell me a bit about their influence on the playing group and essentially the Northern Beaches or Manly as an area. Like, because you can just see how much both of those guys live and breathe the Sea Eagles and what it means to be playing in that jersey. So tell me about those two guys.
Look, they are phenomenal. They are phenomenal humans. First of all, like I love those two. The way that they are, the amount of love that they show to anyone. They're really, really genuine people. But when you put them on the football field, holy shit! Like, I know not to run at Jake as an opposition. I love being next to Jake because if I miss the slightest tackle, Jake's there to pick it up. Here's the one. Like, here's the wood chopper. And then you got Turbs, mate. I remember I've said it for a couple of years when I was at Manly. Like, he defies gravity. The way that he just moves. And I remember that one year that we played, and he had, I forgot what the streak was. Dally M points after Dally M points,
Yeah.
and he ended up being the Dally M winner. When I was playing with him, it's like I was just, how do you do this? Like, you're busted, but you just glide. You make things so much easier. And I'm huffing and puffing in the back, trying to make my hit-ups. And he makes it look so much easier. Like, these boys, they bleed maroon and white. And, look, I would say it's credit to their parents. Their parents have raised them really, really well. They are gentlemen. They are exactly the heart and soul of Manly. And, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to know them and also to play alongside them.
I love that. I love your first thing about, the question is your first answer is them as people, you know what I mean? Like I said, so many people see them for who they are on the field, but to actually get an insight into who they are as people and champions, that's really what makes them. Tell me your favourite moment in a Manly Sea Eagles jersey.
Favourite moment?
I'm sure there's plenty.
Yeah, there's plenty. I can't really pinpoint which one. There's just so many moments. I can't really. Honestly, I wouldn't even know which one. There's so many moments I've had with the boys, whether it's out having a drink down in Northern Beaches or just muck around on the footy field. I'm not too sure. There's a lot of moments.
And how was training? You have obviously like a lot of characters. You just sort of mentioned the Trbojevic brothers. What sort of standards did those guys set at training and Cherry as well? Like, tell me a bit about, I guess the influence some of those leaders had, even some of those earlier guys. You mentioned Jamie Lyon, you mentioned Stephen Matai. Like, tell me, I guess, some of the influence they had on training.
Yeah, no, they had some really, so Jamie Lyon, Steve Matai and all them boys, they had massive influences, and they kind of, with their experience, they kind of knew what worked and what didn't work. And so we jumped on the back of that, and it really helped. Whether, even for me, I'll ask for advice to Steve Matai on how to tackle. He's a little smaller than me, but the way he penetrates human beings compared to me, I'm like, I just go in for a bear hug. He pierces them and they stay to the ground. They're massive influences, and for them it wasn't just bark. They never barked at orders at players. It was always a softer way of going about it, and that made it a lot easier for players to receive the information. And I think nowadays that's what we need to kind of take on board is if someone was to come to you and push you a little bit, you would push back. But if someone was to walk you through the journey and say, we'll go for a little walk, you would walk along them and that you'll get a better understanding. And I feel like that's the best way to approach in a testosterone-filled rugby league team. It's the best way to get out of your athletes because, it's a case by case.
Oh, 100%. I love that, and it's a personal approach too. You know what I mean? What works for some doesn't necessarily work for others. So having that personal approach, that connection, you know, towards your players, your coaches, whatever it may be, is just, in my opinion, so important. You know, on the basis of having a successful team. But you like I said, your longest tenure was at Manly. You played 156 games for Manly. You decided to move to the Broncos. Tell me about how that came about and the decision to head north of Brisbane.
Well, this was an interesting one. So my contract was coming to an end, and at the end of that season, it was the 22 season, I got selected to play in the Samoa Rugby League World Cup, which the tour was over in England. So I thought, okay, so whilst my manager at the time was putting out feelers for NRL clubs, will go on and pursue this Rugby League World Cup. And it was, so I was in there as an athlete, as a player, and my wife was the operations and logistics, and her role just kept going. It was a long list.
Everything.
She's a powerhouse woman, this one, my wife. So we went on and we did the Tour Samoa, the tour, and I don't know if you remember the first game, we got flogged by England, 66-6.
I do remember.
We got written off. You guys are garbage. Everything under the sun. It's like, yep, okay. And then after that, you know, we put some wins on the board, and it was one of the most successful ever tour games for, well, competition or tournament for Tour Samoa. That had come to an end. And this was around November. I looked at my wife and I said, honey, I'm technically unemployed. So an NRL contract, you sign November 1, and for people that don't know, it ends on October 31st. So October 31st, obviously trickled over, we played the Rugby League Grand Final, and said, honey, I'm unemployed. And for me, I'm like, I'm not just going to go belly up. So we came back to Australia, to Sydney, and yeah, I was training. My wife had the whistle in her mouth, and she was running my training, and I was getting flogged by the boss. And for that, I'm really grateful for that moment, because between November and February, I believe it was at that time, I had to do all the training on my own with my wife, pushing me as hard as she can. And with that fact in the back of my mind, that how am I going to support my family? How am I going to pay a mortgage? How am I going to just stay afloat? And we put in all the hard yards, and yeah, I would say it was just God just stepping in and go, look, here's an opportunity. And the Broncos came to the table and they said, you know, we would really love for you to come and mentor these players and obviously play. I jumped at it. And yeah, it was crazy.
What time of the year was that? So you obviously, like you said, October 31 is your last paycheck, right, from Manly. You go over to do Samoa, you play for that. So when did you actually sign with the Broncos? Because obviously November, December, January, like you mentioned, not getting paid, but just training to stay ready, hoping for a call to come.
I think it was at the end of January, so we landed in February, the first week of February in Brisbane.
So almost, well, it's great timing. I mean, missed full preseason.
I missed full preseason.
But
I was getting flogged. I had my own preseason, and I was getting flogged. Yeah. And it was it was one of the greatest moments for me. It's like, oh shit, I got a contract, but then it set in already. The scarcity mindset was, how am I going to get another contract for next year? Even though I had just signed one, I was already thinking, because we essentially signed for 9 months.
Yeah.
And this turned into 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So it has been quite a journey, and it's I've enjoyed every moment of it.
So when you moved to the Broncos, obviously Kevy was coach at the time. Tell me about Kevy and the relationship you had with Kevy, and you know, obviously his resume, his career speaks for itself, obviously as a coach and as a player. Tell me about how you got on with Kevy.
I love Kevy. Him and Alfie, they're just a bundle of joy.
I've heard a lot of stories about Alfie. Probably we can't talk about right now.
But Kevy alone, like, so when we had the meeting with Kevy and the CEO, and you could just see the excitement. It's like that 10-year-old kid inside of him that just wants to rip his chest open and just jump out at you. That's the kind of energy that Kevy always had. He was so passionate. I've never seen anyone and heard anyone so passionate about the Broncos, and that's what I love. Like Kevy, it was all about the Broncos and his family, and whatever he can do for both, he will. And that's like, I love that. And it's one of the many reasons. Well, yeah, one of the many reasons why I signed at the Broncos is because for me, I'm a very family-oriented. Family comes first. It's God, family, and then work after all that. But for him, it was, our values, it seemed all aligned. So,
tell me about, you mentioned before, the reasons why you wanted to go to the Broncos, and obviously your experience is just so valuable. And obviously you go up to Brisbane. You've been around the game for a long time. You've seen a lot of changes in the game. You come up to this team. There's a lot of young superstars in that team. A lot of young guys who are sort of at the start of their career, where you've been through it all. You've had the holistic approach to your NRL career. Tell me about some of the things you enjoyed working and seeing from some of those younger guys and guys who are now just really making household names for themselves.
I guess the one thing I really enjoyed was the obvious. Being in and around the boys, they were 10 years younger than me, which is crazy.
It makes you feel old, doesn't it?
They were 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And like even Reece Walsh, he's a lot more younger than me. But I really enjoyed the fact that I was in and around this group of boys that were just full of energy. They wanted to do anything and everything in a good way. But the one thing I really enjoyed was the conversations and the way things evolved. They grew from the mannerisms. Like I stuck at them for, there's a few things, mannerisms, please, thank yous, and which they're really, really good, but just the way that they carry themselves. I really enjoyed having these, I wouldn't say tough conversations. Me and my wife, we call it, and thanks to my wife, we call it necessary conversations.
I like it.
So I had a lot of necessary conversations with the boys, and whether it's rugby league, whether it's outside of football, that's the one thing I really enjoyed. And just because these guys, they were boys, and it's no disrespect to them, I've had a lot of life experience outside of football.
Yep.
These boys were very fortunate with their talent that they went from high school and straight into training, working in a big organisation where there are a lot of specialists in and around you to help you. For me, it was trying to help them identify what can we do a little bit better than just eat the food that's been given to us. Eat your salads, make it colourful, have a bit of protein. It was all that sort of stuff, just challenging their mindset and challenging the way that they think, which will help broaden the way that they will become in the future.
I love that. Obviously the club made a pretty big decision to move Kevy on and bring in Madge, Michael Maguire. We hear a lot of stories about Madge and, his pre-season training. And tell me about the last pre-season under Madge and how brutal that was.
It was. And
because pre-season is brutal regardless, wherever you are.
Pre-season is brutal. And I've enjoyed pre-season under Des, like the good old mad scientist. I love Des. Yeah. But I remember saying to Des, look, Des, I'm not a marathon runner. Like, I'm a powerlifter. I'm explosive, but I can't run your 10Ks.
Yeah.
He looks at me, he winks at me, and goes, "Nah, you'll be good, man." Shit. But my last pre-season, it was tough, and with the elements as well. Up in Queensland, the humidity is 95%. It's 35 degrees solid, and it was hard. It's one thing I really, really found difficult was the heat. It was with how the game was panning. It's become faster.
100%.
Less stoppages. These young athletes, they're becoming fitter, faster, stronger, and I'm like, oh, geez, back in the day I was just strong. But now I have to be a marathon runner. I have to be a triathlon athlete. I was
Yeah,
like,
I wanna do it all.
I can't do this. But to my credit, I'm patting myself on the back here. I survived it.
You got through it.
I got through it, and that's the one thing I really appreciate with everything that's happened in my career. That's what's gotten me through preseason is my level of resilience. I never wanted to give up, and even though when people thought so there were many moments where I'll just drop, during preseason, I would drop, I'll pass out, but next training session, it's okay. We'll turn up. Just
I love that because in my point of view, like I think, I mean, you've probably done 15, 16 NRL preseason, so the toughness required to get through one preseason. If you can get through a preseason, like you are just unbelievably tough, in my opinion, physically and mentally. Anyway, moving on. Earlier, you mentioned you spent 2.5 years at the Broncos. Now, earlier this season, I wake up one day and I see this news. Martin Taupau has been released from the Broncos. And obviously there's a bit of a storm around that and something to do with a social media post and Madge and how he was training. From your words, tell me what happened and that experience.
Okay, so what the events of the day went. So I live about 200 meters at the time. I lived 200 meters from Red Hill, and I loved it. Jump on my scooter every single day. So in that morning, I have my morning coffee. I journal. I do everything I need to prep, and I just come across just a post, Footy Hacks. So Elijah Taylor, who's also retiring as well, and like I played with him, and I have a lot of admiration for him, how tough he is. So he put up a post, and it was an educational piece. Well, I would say it's educational, but it wasn't. It was just sharing his thoughts and feelings on how tough the pre-season training is under Maguire. And at the end of it, it was, if there are certain things, if he changes certain things, they'll be really successful. Look, I believe that those things have changed, and look at him now, they're in the grand final. So for me, to my unknowing, I just swipe and vicious social media. I just liked it and just kept going. Totally forgot about it. Drank coffee, jumped on the scooter. Went down to work, jumped in the lockers, and boys goes, "Oh, Oos, you just like this post." It's like, what are you talking about? He goes, "Oh, Elijah's post," and they're like, "Oh," covering their mouth, and just like worried. I don't know because I didn't watch the full video, so I just unliked it.
Yep.
It turned. I got told, "Okay, Marty, you got to have a meeting with so and so. It's at tonight. Explain your actions." Like, oh shit! It didn't really click. I was like, oh, okay. So I had the meeting, explained my what had happened. I was really remorseful. I was aware, but not fully aware of the repercussions. So it just happened, and it's exactly what happened. That was it. I just liked an Instagram post, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it sort of blew up, to be honest. Like, tell me about, you went in the meeting, and did they, what did they say to you? Did they say, mate, we're gonna have to move you on straight away, or was it an amicable sort of split, or what? Because to me it was quite odd. I'm like, why is this guy who's been around for so long, served the game for so long, 256 games, and something as harmless as that, in my opinion, it's like, why is this happening? I found the whole situation quite bizarre and confusing, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, well, you're not alone, because I always feel dumbfounded when I think about it. But so I had a meeting with the CEO and the footy manager, and it just explained my actions. And I was really remorseful and apologetic of what had happened. It was harmful. There's no intention to cause any harm to anyone. It was an innocent, as it was. So a later meeting was called with the CEO, and I thought, let's go for a walk. Let's have a walking meeting. So and which we,
I love that.
yeah, I'm not a fan of sitting down because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
feels real formal.
Serious? Yeah.
So it's like, let's make it a little, we'll just go for a walk and talk and coffee in hand. We talked it through, and it said, it's probably best that, let's mutually part ways. And I think, it was, thinking back to it now, I didn't give it much thought, but when you know in your heart, in your body, there's something telling you, it's like, yep, it's time to go. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm happy with it. And I wasn't angry at the time. It was, okay, I understand it, because I feel like I'm a very understanding type of person. It was hard. It was a kick in the guts. It was every emotion under the sun. But looking back at it now, I feel like it was God just stepping in and saying, okay, Marty, it's time for you to put your boots down and let's pick up what we're doing now with your business and your wife. And because, like, I spoke about it to my wife, and she said the exact same thing, that this was a sign from God stepping in saying that, yeah, Marty, it's your time. Because if I had played on, anything could have happened. I could have gotten another concussion. I could have gotten another serious injury where I wouldn't have been able to walk. It would have been major. And then that could have been that one next game. And it's like, yep, yeah, I think so. And now I've really enjoyed, ever since that happened, the transition straight into our business. It's made it really, really easy, and I enjoy it. I love it.
So I guess when you the decision made that you were going to part ways, like, did you kind of make that decision for you to retire from the game straight away, or did you look at other opportunities to keep playing overseas? Because, like I said, when I saw that news, I was like, I did find it quite bizarre, right? I found it very odd, and I was just like, what's going on? Like, this doesn't sound right. And I thought, oh, Marty, if he wants to play, he's going to be no short of offers if he wants to look around, have a look overseas. Obviously, I still thought you had plenty in the tank. Was that something you considered, or you were just, like you said, my time is now and I'm just done?
Yeah, of course. Like, I said to my wife, even before all this happened, I said, I've got another 2 years in me.
Yeah.
Because we have invested so much time and money into keeping my body in one piece, and most especially my brain. And when all this happened, we're like, okay, now we'll find a club. So we put out a few feelers, and the feeder club that I was playing for at the time, South Logan Magpies, with Carmichael Hunt, the head coach. I reached out to him and I said, I'm keen. I'm still in Brisbane. I'm keen to play, but we'll suss out the paperwork with the contractual stuff, and then we'll go from there. Sadly, but fortunately for me, nothing came about. No clubs. There were a few clubs that came in from England. They tabled a few offers, but I spoke. We had a conversation about it, my wife, and it was, what's the best thing for our family? And given that we had spent 2.5 years away from our family, so our 4 kids, our mums and dads, our parents are getting a lot older. Like, we had already done 2.5 years away from everyone. So do you think we can afford to spend another couple of years over in England on our own? And the other factor was our 2 dogs, our 2 Labradors. Oh, jeez. They're more well-behaved than our kids, and they're more cherished than our kids at the moment. But yeah, we said no. It's best for us to go back home in Sydney, and it's been the best thing ever with what's happening at the moment, with the family and friends that we're surrounded by, supported by, our businesses, everything, our kids. Like, we just thought, no, it's time to, because everyone says it's retiring. You're retiring, Marty. And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm retiring. I'm just changing my career. Like, there are people out there that are sparkies, they're plumbers. They've started their career as that, and they go, oh no, I'm just going to be an IT, an architect. So yes, people may say I'm retiring, but I'm just changing my career path. I'm putting down my footy boots, and now I'm picking up it's a hard hat and my laptop at the moment. So
I love that. You know what? I just listening to that, like obviously for me, like I've called it retiring as the whole year, and I love that outlook. I think it's a great. You see guys changing careers all the time, men and women, and it is no different for us. And I guess on the decision for your retirement or changing careers or whatever you want to call it, like, and you said, you just knew that it was time. Did you feel like you found that decision quite easy? And I guess, how do you feel now that like that chapter of your life is now closed? Because everything I assume everything you've ever done, the time you've gone to bed, the food you've eaten, when you've trained, when you haven't trained, all those decisions are based around getting the best out of you athletically. Now it's like you don't have that in your life anymore. How's that been for you?
Look, I would say it has been a little bit hard for me from the moment that I was done at the Brisbane Broncos to making that decision. It was really hard. And as I mentioned before, I was only 200 metres away. So the minute you could open up the window or sliding door, the slightest bit, you could hear the boys train. And you could only imagine how hard that is for someone that was just playing with the boys, was just training with the boys. And it broke my heart every time I heard that. And we got a really strong relationship with all the boys, their partners. Like me and my wife, we're like, I've said it so many times, we're the fairy godparents. We love looking after people in and around us, the kids as well. Like we spoil them, honestly. When we have grandkids, they're going to be spoiled like no tomorrow. I'll probably spoiled to the point where we're going to be broke, but like we love it. And that's the sort of love that we gave to the playing group, because we don't look at them as athletes. They're our family. And for me, it was really, really hard to be not in there, but in and around it. So for me, the best way to sort of maneuver through these challenges was I'll go for a run. And I kid you not, I'm not a bloody runner. I'm not a marathon runner, but I'll go for a run, a 5K run. And then from that point on, it was, what is my routine? From going to work, we were being told you got a meeting here, you got to eat lunch at this time, you got to train at that time, you got to train here and there, you got to do this and that. Everything was scheduled for you. When that time was done for me, I had to create what's my schedule, what is my routine. And it's I do have pretty solid routine at the moment now. It's really helped me both mentally and physically. And that's with our business. It's one of the main things that we've done is it's all about building an intentional system for you. What is best for you to become your best self every single day.
I love that. And I want to talk to you about the differences in the game. Like we've been around a long time. Obviously, the game from when we made our debuts to now has changed a lot, as you sort of touched on before. But what are some of the biggest differences you've noticed? And I know that you're someone who, like, I know you love your training. I've seen the videos. I've seen the stuff that you eat, your diet. The demands of the game are higher, in my opinion, than they've ever been across my life and the time I've been involved. So tell me about, I guess, some of the things that you've seen in your time.
Oh, geez, the crazy things now. The speed of the game, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The amount of time that the ball is in play compared to what it was a decade ago, it was different. The level of skill that every position has to acquire now. Like, you've got these wingers now that might as well be acrobats and
100%.
They can perform at Cirque du Soleil, whatever it is, a circus. And it's just crazy. Like, the game has, it's pretty much said to every athlete that you have to push yourself to the absolute limit, not just one time, but the 26 rounds, 24 rounds, and then some. And you got to turn up day in, day out. That's the physical side. People think that's easy. You just catch the ball, you just go for a little run, kick the ball, make a few tackles. But now we're in this day and age with social media, and I was fortunate enough to, I remember the 3315 phones and all that, the brick phones. I remember the good old Discmans and Walkmans and all that. Now with the age of social media, everything is being recorded. So there is always, no matter who you are or what you do, you have a digital footprint right now. So everything is being tracked, and I guess, which is pretty ironic now, that from one Instagram like, it's cost me my career. And that's one thing that it scares me from all the athletes that I've, like, especially my experience at the Broncos. I feel like that social media is obviously a big influence, and it's now shaped the way behaviours are in and around teams. And that's, kids nowadays are being brought up by the algorithm rather than being brought up by their parents. It's what is the next best thing on social media? What are they wearing? What are they doing? What's the next big dance? What's trending? That's the big thing that's being, big changes in rugby league, is that there are so many different elements that you have to be across and aware to thrive in this game. Because,
I love that. My next question, obviously both of us played contact sports our whole lives, right? Obviously, long career in the NRL plus junior footy, obviously a lot of collisions. Does it ever concern you, or do you ever think about, the health of your brain now and into the future? Does it ever cross your mind?
It honestly scares me every day. Just with the amount of content that we do, and you're well aware of this, even in light training sessions, just a simple bump into another athlete, what that does to the brain, it's like you think of a brain, or your brain in a jar, and it's just constantly getting hammered in against something real solid. And it's almost it is equivalent to a car crash, going at 60 kilometers, constant, again and again and again. And we've been doing this for 15, 20 years.
Long time.
So you could only imagine how scary that is, and how, like, your brain would deteriorate. And if you don't have a brain, your body's just not going to follow. Your body's not going to move. But in saying that, the last couple of years, it's the reason why I've changed my diet. So I was always, make your plate colourful with all of these greens and salads and a little bit of protein. Now to the point it was carnivore. And really grateful for my wife and our Dr. Paul Mason got me onto this, and holy shit, it was freaking hard. Carnivore, which is all meat, all day, every day. For the first 6 weeks I did this, it was hard. And I was going into the round one against the Roosters at Sydney Football Stadium, at the cricket ground, sorry. I literally lasted 15 minutes, and that was it. I had nothing in the tank. But post that, I thrived, shredded, mental clarity. Like, brain fog wasn't a thing. It didn't exist. And I was able to think faster. It was sharper. My reaction time was a lot better. I was jacked. I thought I was freaking Superman. But yeah, going back to brain health, that was the main reason I changed my diet, was because of that. And I feel like that influence has helped with other athletes, especially in the Broncos team. Good old Payne. I've seen him. He's used to peek over, see what I'll eat, and to the point that he does the same thing too. It's not as extreme, but he does. But yeah, I eat anything: kidney, liver, sheep's brain, pig's head, which is a huge thing in Samoan community. Anything and everything. You don't waste it.
Love that. Do you think the NRL season is too long?
Yes.
What do you reckon is the sweet spot? Because I think it's too long as well. What do you think is the sweet spot for games that should be played for the season?
Oh, as you said, that number 16 came to 16 games, and then you play your finals game. So, I would say 16 rounds, and then you play your final series, which I would say it will also allow your Origin series, which is your 3 games, and then the international space as well.
That's my segue straight into the international space, because I know you've had an absolutely insane international career. 24 games for New Zealand, 9 games for Samoa. Tell me a little bit about your time playing for both of those teams, obviously your family heritage, because the international game has just gone from strength to strength, and I love to see it. I think it's going to play a huge part in the future of rugby league. So Tell me a bit about that side of your career.
Yeah, well, this is going back to the 20s. So I was really fortunate to be named captain of the junior Kiwis at the time. So David Kidwell was the coach. And I think it just all started from there. I made my international debut at the age of 24. It was Mooksy, so Stephen Kearney,
Yep.
he was the coach. And there was, I believe it was 5 of us. There were rookies. We were making our debut, and we were lining up against Cameron Smith, Billy Slater, the greats, Sammy Thaiday, and rather than there wasn't this feeling of, oh shit, like we're playing against the greats. We were like, oh, we got this, and which we didn't. We we didn't win this game, but the next game, which was up at it was in Brisbane, Suncorp. We got that game, and we just, it was like, oh shit, okay, we've got something here. And this was all, again, around culture. This is the Kiwi way, and the Kiwis back then, the board, everyone, they did an amazing job on educating the players on the iwi way, like how understanding the language. Even, I'm not Māori, but when you understand it from how they broke it down, it was, okay, there's an attachment. For whoever it is, there was always an attachment on how they lived their way, why they lived away, and there was always a purpose. And it was all built all around culture, and that really helped elevate who the New Zealand Kiwis were, which I loved. I loved and adored my time playing for the Kiwis for those 24 games. And then there was a moment where it was time for me to represent Samoa. And I was a lot older. We had a young family. And at the time, there was measles. There was a measles outbreak. And so me and my wife, we did a measles, it was like a big toy drive. So anything that anyone could donate, we'll take it over. So in the NRL, there was a lot of great supporting partners that helped. So we took all the stuff over to Samoa there was hundreds of kids that were dying of measles. And in Samoa, their medical isn't the best. So we thought we'll go over there and do that and just to bring a little bit of joy. And it just started from there. It's like, yeah, we're doing this for Samoa. And for me, it was for my family, my ancestors, my grandparents, and also for my kids. So our kids, they're all half Samoan. And for the next generation. And yeah, I love it. Loved it.
I love that. And like I said, I'm a massive fan of the international stage. I love seeing all the players being able to represent, and these eligibility rules being flexible enough for players to go and represent, multiple nations. What do you think the future of international footy looks like with Samoa? Do you think, in my opinion, I think this is the team that can win the World Cup.
Yeah.
Like, is that where the standard is now, you think, for Samoan Rugby League?
Oh, 100%. And I think it was dating back to the last Rugby League World Cup, with what we did. And with these young athletes, the Penrith boys at the time, Stephen Crichton, Brian To'o, Luai, and the old boys, Papa and Junior Paulo, it was, we created history. And I think we had lifted the standards for Samoan Rugby League. And I believe the team now, whoever will be selected in there, will go in with that little bit more pride and support. And I do believe that the standards will continue to lift. But not only from a playing perspective, but I would hope that the standards from across all areas in Rugby League Samoa would lift, so it will help with the pathways of kids back in Samoa, or Samoan kids that want to play rugby league and represent them will have a pathway made available.
I love that. That's incredible, and so important for the growth of the international game. Mate, your decision to retire now, let's move on to what's next for you. You've touched on a couple of the businesses that you and your wife are now sort of running. I want to know what's next for you post-NRL. Like, tell me about the things that you and your team have been up to, and what the future looks like for you.
Well, it's really exciting. It's funny with me making my retirement. I feel like I'm an intern in my own business. I
love that.
I feel like I've literally finished high school, and now I've come into the real world. My wife, I freaking love her. She is the best. She is a pioneer. She's the boss. And talking about the boss, I always say to her, like as a joke, it's like, honey, I wear the freaking pants, but you wear the belt that holds my pants. So it's like, yep. No, she's the best. So during our time, and it all started up in Brisbane, our second business. But we'll start. So our first business, we started back in COVID.
Yep.
It's called Disruptors. And Disruptors is a consulting firm. So my wife consults with a lot of different organisations, and it's really, really awesome. So we consult with the Sydney Kings. I love the Kings. And we consult with a few other organisations as well. And we are also, within Disruptors, a speakers bureau. So we have some great people that are working in for Disruptors that are affected or positively affected or connected to sport. So we've got a lot of people that may not be past athletes, but have been are connected to sport in whatever way. So we have Disruptors there, and then we've got Not Stationary. So
tell me about Not Stationary, and how did this idea come about? Because I'm pretty sure you gave out stuff to the whole Broncos team at one stage. Like, tell me more about this.
So Not Stationary it's a stationary product, but it's not a stationary product. So Not Stationary.
That's the whole deal.
Yeah. So you got to Google it. So Not Stationary, you spell it, writing, or it's just like planners, it's ERY. But how we spell it is ARY. So not being still. It's always about moving. So Not Stationary. You don't want to be stationary. That's why it's Not Stationary.
Love that.
I feel like I'm bragging on.
Oh, that's a great explanation.
Yeah. So we're Not Stationary. Now how it came about is that we do the drive from Brisbane to Sydney up and back, and we see kids and family and stuff. So as we were coming back, we were talking about there was a product on the market that wasn't available no more, and there was a few other things that it needed, but we couldn't find it. So I said to the wife, honey, why not create one? She goes, oh shit, okay, we will. So we're doing this on the drive.
Yeah.
So got to create it. She goes, oh, what are we gonna call it? Like, oh, I don't know. So she goes on, and I forgot exactly what it was, and because it was about making people better, elevating them, lifting them, moving. And I said, well, it's not stationary. She goes, what? Like, it's not stationary then. Call it Not Stationary. So we had to write it down. We looked at it, it's like, that's it. It's Not Stationary. And what it is, so our product, it's a planner or a journal, whatever you want to call it. So it's a day to a page. So we've got planners. We've got undated 12-week planners.
Yep.
Which is pretty good it's amazing for people that, may start journaling or working through for a week and then they miss another week, but it's undated, so you can work through that. We've got line notebooks, we've got tiny moments, so we've got these really beautiful connection cards where you can use either on your own, like you ask yourself these questions, or you can ask it with someone else, and it's nice. I love it. I'm a real big introvert. I like to observe and don't like to chat. It's like I just sit there and all ears. But it's all about having a deeper connection with either yourself or with another individual. So whether it's your wife, your partner, your kids, and it's been amazing the feedback that we've gotten from a lot of people. They love it. People do it for in between their lunch breaks. They just pick up one random card. All our products, and we've got drink bottles too, all these products put together or even separated, it's all about intentional living, and it's always living with intention, with attention. So
Love
if
that.
you put all your attention in your whatever it is that you want to do today, yeah, you'll achieve so much, and it's with every intention of that. So, yeah, like I love it. I've never been a writer, a journalist, or whatever you want to call it, but I've been doing it for the last 2 years, and I write it every single day. So we have 3 prompts every single day. It's what are your priorities, what are you grateful for, and what are your top tasks. And at the end of every day, there's always a reflection piece, and it doesn't need to be something big. It could be, today I found a $2 coin. Like, so just, yeah. And the one thing I really love and appreciate about our business is that it's all about giving yourself, it's either time or space to become better. And I've gone back and looked at what happened a couple of months ago, even back in May when all this happened. It's like, shit, it was hard. I journaled, I got sacked, I got this, I didn't get that. Like, even some people want to say, I ran out of petrol. So, but when you reflect back on that, like, you take lessons out of it.
Of course.
And that's the one thing I love. It just helps people become a little bit better than they were the day before.
I love that. That's awesome, and it's great you've got a passion out of something that you thought you may not. Look, obviously, it's great to see. I love seeing players, transition from the game and have something that they're passionate about to pursue and ready, and obviously being able to make the call on their own terms. What advice would you give to someone over the course of their career to prepare for something such as a big thing like retiring from the game of rugby league?
Oh, that's a hard one. I would say is define who you are. So define what your values are. Define what makes you who you are. What are your boundaries? And like, for me, it's it's my family. It's my religion. It's like our business. And if things are not aligned with my values, well, then it's a no. So you got to step away from that. And I think that's a lesson that I've learned throughout my whole career, and even right up until my tenure at the Broncos. Is like, there were certain things there that weren't aligned with my values, and it was hard for me to step away, but I feel a lot better for it. And I would say to all those young aspiring athletes or to anyone, is to define what your values are, and in that you will have clarity on understanding who you are as an actual person.
Love that, mate. That's awesome. Look, I just want to say a massive thank you for being available today and coming over and chat. It's been awesome to just go through your career. You've had a phenomenal career, mate. I've been lucky enough. I never played with you, but I played against you. You probably ran over me a lot of times. I probably missed a lot of tackles on Marty. But yeah, congratulations on your career, mate. I wish you all the best with Not Stationary and everything you're doing for. Just quickly, where can people find Not Stationary? Website, social media? Let's hear it. Where?
Yeah, so you can find us anywhere. If you Google Not Stationary, we'll be on Google, on my Instagram, Instagram socials, Pinterest. If you want to get a better understanding of how it actually looks, Pinterest is probably the best. Our products are aesthetically, well, as you can see, I'm all black and bold and stark. It's strong, and that's our products. It's beautiful products, and so we're all across socials.
Awesome, mate. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.